It's just so boring. At one point, Abigail's got lipstick on her teeth, so they tell her, and then of course it's got to be like, oh, you are so sweet. You're just like straightening another queen's crown. Meghan's like, yeah, that's friendship. My favorite shirt says, the best ships are friendships. Ahoy! Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise, and today we're going to be doing episode 5 of Meghan's show with Love Meghan. You guys, this was by far the most boring episode that I've had to watch this entire time. And that is really saying something. If you've even pressed play for 5 seconds on the show, you know that it is a snoozer, if ever there was one. And this one just drained the life out of me. I mean, it took every ounce of will to finish. The food was boring. The people were boring. The settings were dull. I mean, it just was like, how much longer, Lord Jesus, is this going to go on? But I'll tell you, this episode may not be as long because there's just nothing to talk about. There weren't any juicy conversations either. There weren't any just like show-stopping moments, jaw-dropping, like, Meghan, what are you saying moments, you know? And also, visually, we're not going to have as many clips. I got a real slap on the wrist for yesterday's episode. YouTube didn't like all those clips I showed. And this is all my fault, obviously, because I knew what I was doing when I edited that. And somebody had said, this would be a lot more interesting if you added more clips and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm not giving a good product. And so, against my better judgment, I was like, I'm going to try to slip in some of these clips I know I shouldn't have. And then, of course, the inevitable. So I want to play by the rules. It's really annoying to go and do something and then have a video demonetized. And you can't be like, I'm going to fight this because you were in the wrong. So anyway, we're going to talk. I'm going to show you as many pictures as I can, but I got to step away from the clips. Unless it's something that Netflix has offered for public consumption. I just better not. Anyway, in this episode, she's having 2 friends over, and they're 2 friends that don't really eat. So that really negates a lot of what we can do. I mean, they eat, but it's light fare, if you know what I'm saying. It's really more of the thought of food and not really the reality of it. 2 friends coming over are Abigail Spencer. She is an actress that Meghan knew. They were both on Suits at the same time. So this relationship has been a long one in which they say many times that they held each other during their darkest hours. So they have maintained friendship. Abigail has been supportive of Meghan for a very long time, publicly even. So we know this is a true friend of hers. And then the other woman that she's having over is a woman named Kelly McKee Zajfen. I think Zajfen. So I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. Wouldn't be me if I said any name correctly. Anyway, Kelly and Abigail are here to have lunch with Meghan. A little girl's lunch, so she's got her prep. But of course, in the opening scene, since Kelly and Abigail are light on the food, we're not going to make anything for them to take home. They live on air. But what we will have is a beautiful floral arrangement. So Meghan's going to show us about how to arrange flowers. And like I said in the last episode, Meghan does have an eye for what looks really pretty. That's why she likes these charcuterie boards and these crudit platters, because it's all about the arranging. She loves to arrange. And so flowers are truly right up her alley. Now, she is going to go to this, I wouldn't call it a warehouse, but it's not like a typical florist shop. It's really more like wholesale flowers. It's kind of like, I went to a place like this. I did my wedding flowers, and so I went to a place like this, and you can just buy all the flowers and you can make your own arrangements. So she goes, the show opens with her driving through Montecito to get to her floral warehouse. And she is pointing out all these different things along the way. Oh, that's the farmer's market. I just picked up apricots there yesterday. Oh, that's this. We love to get ice cream there, so on and so forth. It's a picturesque little town. You guys, I don't think I realized how beautiful Montecito is. Like, I can understand now why she was clawing her way into that community. Who among us would not want to live here? It is unbelievable. Anyway, she finally gets to her destination. And the theme here is that it's freezing in this place and she can't stop talking about it. It would have been one thing to say, it one time, like it's going to be cold, but like we expect it should be cold. I mean, if you have flowers and you're trying to keep them good, you put them in the fridge. So if you've got a whole warehouse full of flowers, it's going to be chilly. Anyway, she's like, I've got my coat on because it's just so cold. And she will not stop talking about how cold it is. But, you know, you got to talk about something, I guess. I would have thought we would have talked about the flowers, but we were picking out, but she wants to talk about how cold she is. Anyway, she gets in and she starts telling us that when you're picking flowers, it's like picking out your outfit. You know, you got to find the base of the outfit, and then it's all about accessorizing. And then she says her favorite line of all time. It's all about the storytelling. What story are you trying to tell? And I thought to myself, Meghan, is that the thing you tell yourself all day, every day? It's about the story I'm telling. What story do I want to tell? You know, because every day of her life, it's a new one. Anyway, what story do we want to tell with these flowers? Ask yourself that and then just answer the question as the spirit leads. So she's grabbing this, that. First she starts out going real pink and it's like, Lily would love this, but it's too pink for me. And then she sort of goes towards the more white and the greens and things like that. And then she says, that's too bridal. So then she injects some pale pink, you know, and it's this whole thing. One of the things that I was surprised by was she finds these branches, these flower branches. I mean, I know immediately what they were. And I would not say that I have a green thumb. And she's like, oh my gosh, what are these? And she calls over the owner of the establishment, you know, what is this? And he's like, that is dogwood. And she's like, oh, we discovered something new. I'm like, did we? Isn't that kind of like, I mean, dogwoods are everywhere. Maybe they don't have them in California. I've always, you know, I've grown up since being in America in the Southeast. And so, I mean, dogwoods are everywhere. So maybe it's just that that's what I'm used to. And maybe there's truly a whole section of America that's like, what in tarnation? But anyway, she discovered something new, dogwood flowers. And she proceeds, she's going to make a bouquet for her friends. And then she proceeds to buy what I would estimate to be $350 worth of flowers, maybe more. It is a lot of flowers. It is a lot of filler and greenery. So, you know, maybe she had a deal or something. She says she's going to make one bouquet, but my goodness, she's going to be able to fill her house, right? So then after that, we go to the actual making of the bouquets. And she says that this is a skill set that she really learned at this baby shower that her friends threw for her when she had Archie. You know, her girlfriends threw her this baby shower, and then one of the things they did was flower arranging. You guys, she's always working in this stuff that people have talked about. You guys know the situation with that baby shower. You guys know that she was in England at the time. Obviously, she's married to Harry. And she says that she couldn't leave. She was basically in a gilded cage. They didn't give her passport and her driver's license. And she was just like a woman without a name, without a face. It's just pregnant person holed up in a castle. It was like the Middle Ages. And then suddenly she was in New York with a bunch of her friends. She'd flown over there for a baby shower. And it was this huge sponsored event. People were getting like new sets of luggage. You know, all the guests were like getting all these products. And it was not a baby shower thrown by a couple of friends. Did a whole video about it. I'll make sure to link it in the description. So she wants to act, once again, what's the story you want to tell? Like, you know, a couple of her girlfriends, a couple of her hometown girlfriends threw her little shindig, you know, for her and her baby. But anyway, at this baby shower thrown by some of her girlfriends, she learned flower arranging. And I'm like, how long was this baby shower that you've learned everything you ever knew about flower arranging at that event? But anyway, she proceeds to begin to tell us about how to do this. And I will not undersell what Meghan did. She did a great job. I thought the arrangement was really, really pretty. It's kind of wild and bohemian. And Meghan does have a skill set. Like I said in the last episode, there are things she's really good at, and those are the things that she should be concentrating in, those things alone. She talked about using a vessel that is not clear, she had used kind of a pedestal bowl for her flower arrangements, and she's doing kind of a horizontal arrangement that sort of like sweeps and drapes, and it was very pretty in the end. I thought so. And she was saying, and I thought this was a great tip. She said, don't use a clear vase because there's going to come a day when you walk past it and the water's all ugly and you're trying to change the flowers and it's a hassle. Just hide that part. And, you know, then you don't have to think about it. And she was talking about making sure that you have like a floral cage so your arrangement stays, and talking about dethorning roses and a trick for that, and why you want to take off the leaves on all of the blooms and all of this. And none of this is information that you could never glean anywhere else or anything. But she talked about it with a lot more confidence and had a lot more to say about it, because clearly this is something she likes and enjoys, and the final product was really pretty. Now, my son walked past as I was watching this, and my daughter and I were watching, and she loved the arrangement. I loved the arrangement. We liked the wildness of it. And he goes, "What is that?" "Well, that just looks lawless." So it might not be everybody's cup of tea. It was not my son's cup of tea. He's a very particular, structured little man, and it just did not appeal to him. Person likes something that's more structured and more manicured. This might not be the look, but I think it looked good. I think it was what she was trying to do, and I think she pulled it off really well. So she gets done with the flowers. She gets done showing us that. And I will say this is one other thing, too, that I thought. And I know there are going to be lots of people who are like, don't you know what she's done in her life? And I know it. I've only made a living off of it. The whole time she's talking to the director, as she is wont to do. And there's this one point, her eyes are on him the whole time. She's talking to him the whole time. She never looks at the camera, except for this one time. Her eyes kind of flicker over, and then she goes back to him. And it was almost this scared look. And I wish I could show it to you. I can't. YouTube won't let me. But I felt really kind of bad for her in that moment. And for a moment, I saw like the humanity in her and in the desire to be liked. And I felt bad for her. And now here she is trying to present a version of herself, yet another version of herself that people will like. She's trying to be genuine. I think she really is trying to give a product that is more honest and true, but because she spent so long being fraudulent, she doesn't even know who she really is, and so she can't look at us. I didn't feel like the world should just bypass everything you've ever done and forgive you for everything, but in that flicker of her eyes to the camera, like, am I doing okay? I felt bad for her. I felt sad for her. I don't know. My heart went out to her in a way I had not expected it to. Because I think we all know what it feels like to want to be liked. And I know that Meghan's done a lot of things that are unlikable, but I still felt for her as a human being in that moment. But anyway, she goes inside, and this is when she's going to prep for her girlfriends. Again, we don't eat, so she's got to think about what they're going to drink. And she starts making some ice cubes. And of course, the flowers. Somebody said that they think she's going to sell these flower sprinkles, and that's the only thing that makes sense to me at this point, with the obsession with edible flowers. Again, since she does have a hand with flowers, I guess that's why she's just got to put them into everything. But she wants to make some floral ice cubes. And here's the thing, it's like, if this was the first time we'd ever seen her do anything with edible flowers, I'd be like, cute idea. But it's just so much with the flowers. She's filled her ice trays up and she's putting in the flowers, and she's saying, you could just grow these little flowers on your windowsill. Like, we've got time to maintain that, but whatever. Maybe some people do. And she's putting them in the trays, and she reminds us that we want to use distilled water or boiled water because, as she's realized, and having made the mistake herself, if you use tap water, the ice cubes come out cloudy. And she acknowledges, I know that sounds crazy, but I just am telling you, because if you want to make these, obviously you want to see the flowers. So then it's disappointing if you put it in the freezer and it comes out, it's all cloudy. It's like, well, what was all that for? That's relatable. What's wrong with that little tip and trick? And people are like coming for, this person's so out of touch. Don't use tap water for your ice cubes. What the hell? Well, she's not for any ice cube. It's for a flower ice cube, and you want to see the flower. Okay, I get it. Like, you guys, it's just getting to the point now where people are being so nitpicky and so stupidly mean that now I'm driven to moments where I'm actually sorry for her. You guys have done this to me. Okay. After that, she shows another ice cube you can make. This time she's making orange ice cubes, orange juice ice cubes, because they're going to have some mimosas. And these little ice cubes are like little roses, and you put them in the bottom of the little glass. And it's this beautiful moment for you and your friends, and the orange juice is measured out correctly, and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after she gets done making the ice cubes for her friends, since that's what they're going to have. She tells us the menu because they will put food to lips. It's just going to be very light fare. As she told us in the beginning, it's light fare for these people. They don't want to eat anything heavy. And so she says that they're going to make a salt-baked fish. They're going to have a crudit platter. Of course. She's going to make a salad, and that's it. Well, you guys are going to be starving in 5 minutes, but okay. And she's already told us, she's prepared us for the fact that Abs, as she calls her, Abigail cannot cook. And Kelly is amazing in the kitchen. So we have at least one person at the helm who knows a thing or two. But the real stick in the wheel is going to be Abigail. They come and they have a session in which they're all like, you're the most amazing. No, you're the most amazing. No, you're the most amazing. No, you're the most amazing. And then after they're done with that, they get down to business. And she tells them that they're going to have a salt-baked fish. And that she's done this before because on the family vacation last year, and of course they'll remember this, Archie caught a fish on the family vacation. And they were trying to decide what they were going to do with this fish. Oh my gosh, Archie caught a fish. What are we going to do with it? And they decided to do a salt-baked fish. And Meghan says that she had been to a restaurant before and they brought out this fish encrusted in a mountain of salt, or should I say monton. And she says that this fish concerned her because she didn't want to eat that much salt. Seemed disgusting. But then they cracked it open and they served the fish and it was very delicate, the flavors. And so that's what they're going to do with this branzino that she has bought. And she's got one for each of them so they both get to learn how to do it. So they get down to business. Abigail grabs the tiny salt cellar by the stove, the one where you pinch the salt for the flavor of the food. And she's like, is this the salt we're going to use? And they all have a huge laugh. I doubled over. No, Abigail, I love you so much for that. But no, says Meghan, we're going to need boxes of salt, says she, as she comes out of the pantry with 3 giant boxes of kosher salt. So they get down to business. She tells both of them that they're going to have these big mixing bowls and she's going to pour in a box of salt and you're going to add a little water and you're trying to get like the consistency of soft sand at the beach when it's got a little water in it and you can leave a footprint in it, but it's not soaking wet. Abigail botches that immediately. And we've got Kelly over there who has the personality of someone who just can't take it. She's an unsmiling character. Now, on the one hand, I'm going to cut this lady some slack. She lost a child, and Harry and Meghan had donated money to her GoFundMe for her child's sickness. Guess how generous Harry and Meghan were for their best friend, Kelly. You might want to sit down. You won't be able to believe it. Guess how much they donated? $5,000. You guys. How in the world does a prince and his wife donate to their best friend only $5,000? That seems like a paltry sum to me. I don't know. I mean, $5,000 is a lot of money for the rest of us, but for a couple who lives in a multi-million-dollar house in Montecito to their best friend's dying son, and they basically clean out their pockets and are like, you guys want this change? We'll give that. Anyway, Kelly, I'll say all this to say that Kelly's had hard times. And it seems, and it's like apparent on her visage that she's had some hard times. And she's just not as silly and ridiculous as Abigail Spencer. Quite frankly, she made Meghan seem like a calm, rational, well-meaning, delightful person. Abigail was like clearly cast as the clown on the set. And then Kelly's playing the straight-faced one. I mean, it was quite a duo. Anyway, Abigail's over there. She's poured in too much water. She's sloshing around. She's like, and she's like, I guess I could pour out some of this water? And Meghan's like, great idea, Abby. Great thought. So, she sorts herself out. And then they make the fish. Now, I will say, I love fish, and I've never made a salt-baked fish, and it looked like something I would want to try, if only because it looked kind of fun to make. You make up this giant salt sand mixture, and then you put it on the tray, and then you put the fish on the tray, and they'd slice the fish open, and they'd added some herbs and lemon, but they didn't over-season it because they want to taste the delicate flavor of the salt fish. So after putting in their herbs and everything and putting it on the bed of salt, then they heap on the salt, and they crust it all over. Abby's like, I don't think I've ever rubbed olive oil on a fish before, because you got to rub olive oil on it first before you put the salt on. I don't think I've ever rubbed a fish. This is different. And Kelly's like, we're saying thank you to the fish. We're saying thank you for your life, fish. So it's like we got highs and lows and a lot going on here, personality-wise. And while they wait for the oven to heat up so they can put their fish in, they decide to enjoy the crudité that Meghan has so thoughtfully created for them, because she said her friends would be so upset if they came to her house and she didn't offer them anything to eat. And I'm like, I don't think these two waifs of women would care if you offered them something, maybe some flavored air. But she shows them her crudité platter that, of course we have our back in time moment where she shows us for the bajillionth time how to cut up big things into small things and how to arrange them and how to tell a color story. And I'm like, girl, you've literally done this on every single episode. Like, give it a rest already. You and your flour sprinkles and your trays of small food and your arranging. We know, we get it. At your house, you eat veggies so that the kids will, gravitate towards a colorful platter and stuff their little gullets full of veggies. We get it. I mean, at this point, we are episode 5, and in every single episode, there has been a platter of vegetables that she has spent our precious time showing us how to arrange. You only needed to show us once. I don't need to see it for a 5th time. And, it's pretty. There's lots of colors going on. She uses store-bought hummus and says there's lots of ways to elevate store-bought things. Put it in a container and drizzle olive oil over it. You don't say. Who is going to have some people over? I mean, I don't know. I've done this with my family and everything. But if I'm going to have people over and I'm trying to make a nice presentation, of course I'm going to put the store-bought hummus into a more desirable container. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel here by any means. So she's like cutting up purple cauliflower and, broccoli and all of these things that, people are going to skip right over. She's got some tricks and tips. She cuts her radishes in half and leaves the leaves on so people can grab those and eat it. And it does look pretty. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't have some tips and tricks on how to arrange things. It's truly her only skill set. But what she should have called this show was Crudités with Meghan, because that is all we're getting. Anyway, after she gets done showing us how to do this for the umpteenth time, then her friends come over and, wow, look at this. Oh my gosh, Meghan, you are the light in the life. You are the only one. I mean, it's just like, cue the music and the dancing and Meghan's amazing and Meghan's awesome. And after they get done with that, after they get done eating the crudité, they decide that they're going to make a salad and some lemon vinaigrette. So they do. And the conversation is stilted and scripted. Meghan, is cooking something that you like to do socially with other people, or is it kind of like your moment, your thing? Well, I'll tell you, I really like to cook. It can be meditative, but of course that's all changed since I've had kids, because I want them in the kitchen with me, having that experience, remembering Mama made this and Mama made that. So, cooking's just a lot of things to me. And that is like, you guys, the conversations were painful. Painful. And after they get done making the salad and, making the vinaigrette, and their fish is done, they have an experience cracking it open. Abigail's like flapping her hands. I don't know. They ask her to do it. Okay. And she has a moment where she learns how to debone a fish, which does look pretty satisfying. They plate the fillets. They bring out their salad. They're going to go eat outside. When they come outside, of course, they see her floral arrangements. What in the world, Meghan? We had no idea. And, then they sit around for some more of the worst conversations you've ever heard in your life. It's just so boring. Meghan, how have we all come together? You know, we all knew each other from different walks of life, and now we're in the same friends group. And, you know, at one point Abigail's got lipstick on her teeth, so they tell her, and then of course it's got to be like, "Oh, you are so sweet. You're just like straightening another queen's crown." Meghan's like, "Yeah, that's friendship. My favorite shirt says, 'The best ships are friendships.' Ahoy!" I mean, I just couldn't, you guys. I'm sorry. I know I'm not bringing it on this episode. There just wasn't much to bring. What can I say about these kinds of conversations? It is so ditzy and stupid and shallow and lame and boring. And I know that all three of these women who continue to allude to these really hard times they've had in their lives, but each other have held one another through them. I know the conversations could have been deep and meaningful, like truly interesting conversations. Now, I know it's just like a light cooking show. So, you know, are we really going to sit around and talk about when Kelly lost her son? Probably not the vibe that Meghan wanted, but that's the show she should have made. It would have been a lot more interesting if she had just decided to have real conversations with real people about hard things. But as we saw from her Archetypes podcast, she's never going to be able to manage having real conversations because she can't have a real conversation with herself in the mirror. How is she going to draw it out of anybody else? If Meghan would just finally lay down this necessity to curate people's interpretation of her and just decide to be herself, she'd be such a breath of fresh air. But she can't do that, and people can sense inauthenticity. They can smell it like they can smell a rotting fish. But in the same way, they can also sense when you're being really true to yourself and honest. And here's the thing, there's a lot of deplorable people who people actually like because they're authentic. Why do you guys remember that show where Ozzy and his family were on the show and everybody was like 7 shades of crazy, and they still have a podcast and they're all of them insane, but they have a real following because people are like, these weirdos, at least they're telling the truth, you know? And you don't even have to be a perfect person for people to like you if you are just honest, but not like fake pretending to be relatable, like really being relatable. And Meghan's had some moments on the show where I thought she was honestly relatable. And I thought there have been moments on this show where I think, boy, Meghan, if you could just give us a little bit more of that and less of all this hokey pokey, joy, joy, joy down in my heart, little sayings about just learn something new every day and she's pretty on the inside and just take a moment to be present. All of these silly little shallow mantras that you think are supposed to hold meaning, like we don't want that. But just be like a normal person. And I understand it would be extremely frightening to put anything out. You know, it's going to be picked apart. It's going to have people making fun of it. Even things that you acknowledge are silly, like the fact that she says you shouldn't use tap water for your ice cubes because you want people to see the flowers inside it. Like she's trying to show you how to do this, you know, put a little extra detail into something. And people just jump on her and like, what an unrelatable person. But she says, if you watch the whole long clip, she says, I know this sounds silly, but since we want people to see the flowers, we should use distilled water if you're going to bother to do this at all. And why would somebody pick her apart for that? So I understand the fear that she must have felt if she has any reflection or any understanding of how she's perceived. I understand how scary it would be to have a show knowing that even when you admit this might sound silly, but there's a reason for it, people are just going to jump on that's so stupid part of it. And the same thing with, you know, claiming she'd stored raw chicken in the fridge. I had so many people in the comments say to me, after you have parboiled chicken, you would put it in the fridge uncovered because you're trying to get a crust on that chicken in order for it to fry the way you want. There were reasons. Unfortunately, she doesn't tell us sometimes what her reasons are for doing certain things in the show, so people just immediately assume that she's crazy. Much with that jam that she made in the last episode, we don't see her boil the jars. So if she did boil the jars, she should have said so. If she's not going to boil the jars, she needs to say, this cannot be just stored in your cupboard. You need to put this in the fridge. It's going to be good for a week. I have a sister who makes jam, and she told me already, like not in this context, but she was telling me about how easy it is, and just put it in the fridge if you're not going to do the whole jarring process. But see, Meghan doesn't tell us those things. And she might have that knowledge, but she's not bestowing it on her audience, so then it gives her audience room to judge her. But even if she had told us all those things, I think people would still find reasons to be unnecessarily unkind. Sure, I've spent a lot of hours making my judgment calls about Meghan, but where I can be honest, I want to be honest, and I just feel like Meghan's greatest problem is that she is not ready to come out and be authentic. And until she does, people are going to continue to smell that smell of inauthenticity about her, and they are repelled by it. If Meghan could just come out and be a real person and just not be afraid about what people thought about her, she could maybe begin to win over some people. And the problem for her is she's not ready to do that, and I understand why, because people are mean and then beyond mean. It's not just, well, that seemed silly. It's, that stupid bitch. You know, it's like, well, you guys need to like ease up a little bit. But all right, that was that episode. Like I said, I'm sorry, you guys. There just wasn't much there. I mean, they ate fish and salad. Oh yeah, they did have a dessert where she, again, spoons jam into the bottom of little cups, puts a scoop of ice cream on top, little graham cracker crumble, adds some mint leaves, and then everybody acts like she's transported them into the seventh heaven. So come on. There's that. The point of this show was to talk about how, like, you can take simple things and elevate it. I mean, that's kind of the point of the whole show. I mean, particularly in this episode, I think she was trying to show you simple things like ice cubes or the crudit platter or, the fish. The fish was more interesting because I don't think most people salt bake a fish. But like the salad that she made, the vinaigrette, she was real big on don't worry about measuring, just taste as you go. Like, she's trying to show people that you can have a pretty life without it stressing you out. And I mean, I guess she accomplished that goal. I mean, definitely didn't walk away from this feeling like she's just shown me too many things I couldn't do. So if that was her point, she made her point. It was just hard to get to the end of the episode because she and her friends were just too silly and shallow to watch. It was almost embarrassing. I felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed about the way these grown women were acting. Now, next week, we'll finish the series. Tomorrow, I'll have the Friday News Roundup, and this weekend, we'll keep on with the book that we're reading, but Monday will be when we pick this show up, if you're enjoying this review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the Friday News Roundup. Bye.